1.5. And wait, is this going to go on the podcast?
No,
Yeah.
not at
We
all.
want, yeah.
I
No,
Oh,
have
hey,
uh-uh.
tears sell. This is,
I don't know if I
Here's
can share it. Well, I got an offer and it was a great offer. And then um like at midnight, I get a text from the wife uh saying and that she's going to be filing for divorce. And the husband, I guess, wasn't supposed to be on this message, and he was. And so everyone's finding out at the same time at midnight. This was all last night. And I like because I studied clinical counseling and family and marriage counseling in college. So that hits home for me because it's just so sad. And I love my marriage and I love seeing
Casey, this is a real estate show. All I want to know is, did you get the listing?
no, I already have the listing signed.
You
I
had the
got
listing.
an
All
offer.
right. So can we get on with the show, please?
They don't
Is
want
it
to
pending or not?
No, they won't sign it because she said she's getting a divorce.
Oh, now you have to wait for the
Well,
decree to be issued.
Now, now I'm like, oh gosh, like it's just so I don't like the money's cool, but I don't really care. Like
I
I'm so
know.
sad.
Sad. So there's a thing, there's a thing in real estate, Casey. It's called show emotion without being emotional. And if you start absorbing the emotions of your clients, you become ineffective because you're essentially losing your ability to give them good advice. So for what it's worth, it's easier to say than do. All of us know that's true, but you have to show emotion without being emotional. Casey, I'm sorry for this that this is happening for you, and tell them how you sincerely feel, but then you buy.
Hello, that's why I got into real estate because I didn't want to go through with counseling because I didn't want to hear about people's problems.
well, it's too late for that, Casey.
real estate. That's
No,
all real
I didn't
estate
want to
is.
see like families being, crumbling and spouses cheating on each other and abusing each other. So I was like, I will get into real estate because I don't want to
No,
hear.
bro. This is where
Oh,
they all.
You're just gonna see it. You're probably gonna see it more. Um,
yeah.
hey, we should tell Dan, he's having trouble with the Wi-Fi. I should just tell him just to pass.
No, he's fine. He gets on, he doesn't get on. So listen,
We
guys,
can let him
this
internet.
is this is Powerhouse Talk. This is what happens. We have professionals that are located all over the country. Dan's out in Cabo, Hawaii, and Casey's obviously getting over some emotional turmoil. Chris is back in Montana. Julie and I are here in Puerto Rico. Orlando is also in Cabo. So look, guys, this is Powerhouse Talk. This is a real podcast about people who are really truly in action trying to help you make the most of this new market. And we're going to do a very special show for all of you today. The number one theme we're going to have is try to cheer Casey up. So everyone either makes fun of Casey or tries to make her feel better. Okay. Number
Oh,
two.
I'm coming for you.
Okay, there you go. All right, number two, we're actually doing a special episode, and we're going to call this one Julie Story Time with Coach Julie Harris. And she's going to start out. So here's the premise. I don't know if you guys have read my notes, but here's what we're going to do. Julie's going to read a story. It's the first act of a play that, frankly, I and AI wrote. And it's called the AI Domination Plan, The Great Debate. So Julie's going to read a story, and then we're going to talk about it. And I really want to hash this through. And really, I'll tell you ultimately what the goal is. The goal is for us to help the listeners and the viewers understand what's actually happening with AI, what it's going to feel like, a day in the life of a successful real estate agent when AI is actually essentially done what it's going to, when it's in complete, when we've entered into the singularity with regards to real estate. All these nerdy terms we'll explain in a second. So Julie, you want to jump right in?
Sure. Okay. So this is in multiple acts. So all of you guys, if you need me to pause in between or clarification or we need to discuss, just interrupt. Okay. That's totally fine. All right. So bear with me and we'll take this little section at a time. The real estate singularity. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. A hypothetical screenplay about the day AI took control of the housing market. Before we begin, a quick explanation of the title. You've probably heard the phrase the singularity, right? Well, in tech circles, the singularity refers to the moment when artificial intelligence becomes so powerful and so integrated into everyday life that it fundamentally reshapes how industries work. It's the point where humans are no longer the primary decision makers inside the system. The algorithms are. And hi, Dan. Dan's here. The internet had a moment like this. Finance had a moment like this. Even media had a moment like this. So imagine for a moment a similar moment in housing, a point where AI doesn't just assist real estate transactions, It actually controls the consumer relationship, the search process, the decision making, and the flow of deals. That hypothetical moment is what we're calling the real estate singularity. So let's be clear. What you're about to hear is not a prediction. It's a screenplay, which I love, Tim, that you put this in the form of a screenplay. You guys will see in a second. It's a dystopian thought experiment, a what if story about the most extreme version of an AI driven future for real estate agents and brokerages. Think about the show The Black Mirror, but set inside of the housing market. The purpose of the exercise is not fear. Instead, it's actually clarity. Because when you push a scenario to its absolute extreme, you start to see which parts of your profession are fragile and which parts are irreplaceable. So imagine the theater lights are dimming, the screen fades to black, and our film begins. Act 1, and these are all fairly short, so just stay with me. Take notes, write questions. We're going to get into this together. So Act 1, the phone buzzes on the nightstand. A tired hand grabs it. Not a client, not a lead, not a referral. It's a task notification. Who'd it come from? Hireahuman.ai. Here's what it says. Showing request available. 4 homes, 2 hours. Compensation, $140. And then the countdown begins. 10, 9, 8. If you don't accept the job fast enough, another licensed agent will. You tap accept because rent is due. And because this is how real estate business works now. Welcome to the world after the real estate singularity. That's Act 1. Act 2, the day the first call disappeared. For more than a century, residential real estate followed a simple structure. A consumer wanted to buy or sell a home, they called an agent. The agent guided the process. Consumer, agent, transaction. Agents owned the relationship. Agents controlled the information. Agents controlled the access. But sometime in the late 2020s, something subtle changed. Consumers stopped calling agents first. They started asking AI. AI, where should we move? AI, what neighborhoods are safe and appreciating? AI, what homes can we afford right now? AI, what should we offer on the home we like? At first, it felt harmless, just another tool like Google, like Zillow, like mortgage calculators. But AI had something none of those tools had. It had memory, and not just memory, context, because the AI knew already the income levels, the spending habits, the family structure, the commute tolerance, school preferences, financial stress triggers. It knew all of this. It knew things even the consumer hadn't consciously articulated to it yet. The AI didn't just answer questions, it learned the person. And the person, of course, kept coming back. That's Act 2.
It's not
Act,
long. Just bear with her. I'm
Act
trying
3.
to. I wrote this hoping that you guys would kind of conceptualize. We're almost done. Conceptualize
Yep.
basically the actual effect of AI in the real estate business. Because right now, the way that people are framing it as just tools that agents are going to use, like a CRM or whatever, is completely wrong. That's what I'm hoping I've done an effective job when Julie's helped me with this to really convey this. Go ahead, Jules.
Yeah, and remember, there's an arc to this story. So
Yeah,
I think there may be stress building in the room here.
intentionally.
Okay, Act 3, the relationship belongs to the machine. By the time the buyer ever meets a human agent, they've already spoken with their AI advisor dozens, sometimes even hundreds of times. The AI knows exactly what kind of house they're going to love. It knows the price range that feels safe to them. It knows the neighborhoods that they love, the neighborhoods they'll reject. It's already simulated multiple offer strategies. It's predicted appreciation. It's analyzed flood zones. It's modeled insurance costs by the time the showing gets scheduled. The AI has already made the decision. The human's just participating in the final steps. Act 4, the algorithm curates the market. The buyer believes they're seeing all the homes available, but they're not actually. They're seeing the algorithm's curated version of the market. The AI filters everything, and slowly, quietly, it begins steering them. Homes connected to preferred lenders, homes connected to preferred brokerages, preferred vendors. Consumers experience this as convenience, but behind the scenes, the platform is optimizing the entire ecosystem. Because whoever controls the short list controls the deal, and whoever controls the deal controls the money. On to Act 5, enter hireahuman.ai. Eventually, the platforms discover something important. They don't need thousands of independent agents chasing leads. They only need licensed humans at certain moments. Opening doors, confirming disclosures, submitting paperwork, attending inspections. The rest of the transaction can be handled by software. So the platforms launch a new service, a gig economy marketplace for licensed agents. HireAHuman.ai. Agents don't build businesses anymore. They just accept tasks.
I need to say here, hirehuman.ai is real. It's an actual site, and I found out about the actual site, and that was one of the motivations behind creating this screenplay thing here. But the reality of it is hire human. If you go there, you can see, you can post up what you're able to do, and it's AI hiring you. It's AI hiring you to do exactly the tasks that Julie's describing, but also to do some other things like, check this website out from your perspective as a human and all the rest of it. It's just essentially AI is using humans to complete its tasks. Go ahead.
It's already happening.
It's already happening.
It's even searching for CEOs and things like that.
Yep.
Okay, so the phone buzzes again. Inspection attendance request, 45 minutes, compensation $75. You have 7 seconds to accept. Another licensed agent is watching the same notification. You tap accept, because if you don't, someone else will. On to Act 6. Brokerages become empty shells. The brokerage model doesn't disappear, but it does become hollow. Training, AI teaches faster. Lead generation, platforms own the consumer relationship. What about marketing? Platforms control the distribution as well. Compliance, already embedded in the software. Brokerages become little more than licensed warehouses, necessary for regulatory reasons, but strategically pretty irrelevant. Act 7, the uncomfortable twist. Consumers love that system. They get instant answers, 24-hour guidance, perfectly filtered listings, negotiation simulations, predictive pricing models, no pressure, no awkward sales conversations, and when they need a human, one appears on demand, just like ordering a ride. Act 8, fade to black. In this dystopian version of the future, most agents will disappear. Brokerages consolidate, commissions collapse. The industry becomes a handful of massive platforms controlling the housing ecosystem. The human professional becomes a licensed subcontractor, a door opener, inspection attendee, a paperwork confirmer, replaceable and interchangeable. So now we'll pause the movie because that was a screenplay, a thought experiment, a worst case scenario, and we don't really believe that this is how the story's actually going to end. So on to why the real estate singularity probably never fully happens. Number one.
Let me level off there. So what
Sure.
I did with that first part is I wrote down all the things that I've been hearing people say and all the questions we've been getting and all the fears and loathing that has been brewing up in the last 18 months since AI, started becoming a thing. And that's where I was right. I've been keeping track of these things in a spreadsheet just to kind of understand really what frankly, the issues that agents have with their perceptions of what AI is going to be. And so I just right there, the whole point of that was to create worst case scenario. It was designed to really scare the crap out of agents so that we can just stop acting like we're not living in fear of this potential replacement. So now we're going to move on to what we actually think is going to happen. Go ahead, Julie.
Okay, why the real estate singularity probably never fully happens. One, homes are not commodities. People don't buy houses like they buy electronics. Homes involve emotion. Rewind to Casey's story at the top of the podcast, for example. Buying homes have stress. They have fear involved, an enormous financial risk. When things get complicated, people don't usually want more data. They want a human that they can trust. That's why, Casey, you got that text at midnight, because you were on that list of people they trust, at least in some level, right? So number two, trust requires accountability. AI can provide advice, but it cannot take the responsibility. When a deal falls apart, someone must negotiate, calm emotions, protect the client, make judgment calls. That role requires a human professional. Sometimes that's called coaching your clients, right? They want you to be there. Number three, real estate is messy. We all know this, right? Inspections reveal surprises sometimes. Appraisals can come in low. Financing breaks. Title issues appear. Sellers become irrational. Buyers panic. AI thrives in predictable systems, but real estate transactions are anything but predictable. Number four, the best agents will become super agents. AI won't eliminate great professionals. It'll amplify them. Agents who embrace AI will communicate better, anticipate problems earlier, and deliver extraordinary client experiences. But the mediocre will struggle. The great will dominate. So the final scene, AI does not destroy professions. It destroys mediocrity. The dystopian future only happens if agents define their role as just opening doors, sending listings, filling out contracts, because those tasks can be fully automated. But great agents provide something far more valuable: judgment and strategy and advocacy and leadership. And when millions of dollars in someone's future are on the line, people still want somebody sitting across the table saying, I've got you. Let's figure this out. No algorithm can replace that. And that's why the real estate singularity makes a great movie, but probably a terrible ending to the real story.
So what do you guys think? And so when I was working through this and I ended up writing, so listeners, if you want to read the next six parts to this, where I start breaking out exactly what the different, like I think personally that there's going to be essentially seven different types of agents. And that's an article that's waiting for you at Powerhouse Talk. So go to powerhousetalk.com, subscribe to the newsletter. It's free, or click the link below. So getting back to the story, guys, does that change your perception or your understanding of how AI is actually going to be working inside the real estate industry, let alone our entire lives? What are you thinking, Dan?
Well, I think humans are, thousands of years, like evolutionarily wired to want to talk to other humans, especially for important decisions. So I think that element would be hard to replace. And, I'd look at the example of Redfin, right? That model, which started what, 15 or so years ago, maybe is like a lighter version of what we're talking about here. And they didn't gain a ton of market share, like what, a couple percentage points in most markets. So like I think they would have gotten more market share faster if this idea of totally replacing the agent or reducing them to just a task worker was possible. So like I don't think it will happen to the degree, that this story paints.
Well, let's argue both sides of it, okay? So we can make sure because we obviously none of us want it to actually happen to that degree. But when Redfin was trying to scale, they didn't have AI. So if they were to scale now and they had AI, they probably would have done similar things to what the article said. What are you thinking, Chris? Good points.
I think there's more truth to the screenplay than probably we can imagine. I think there is a I think it's how this movie already started, and we're watching it, and we can't. I don't think we can even conceive how it ends. Uh, I think there's so much. There's another piece to it too, and that is the age and the different generations. There's going to be generations that all they know is AI. And the idea of using a human for things instead of AI is going to be as foreign to them as it is for us thinking about using AI instead of a human. So I think there's a time sequence to this. There's a generations component to this, but if we could magically roll the clocks forward or travel in time, I think we'd see a world that was much closer to that screenplay than not.
In the subsequent articles that I wrote, which I did send you guys, I did basically I'm meandering into the unknown, but I'm thinking 18 months from now, 24 months from now, 36 months from now, we're going to see something very similar to what the screenplay is describing. And the thing that's really hard to wrap your mind around is like, Orlando actually said this, and Orlando couldn't be on the show today, but he said this, what, 2 shows ago? He said that people are preferring, maybe it was you, Chris, are preferring to actually work with AI versus humans for a lot of the sort of the pre-qualifying type aspects in a sales cycle. So, I mean, I think it's kind of interesting.
Can I?
All of us have there's times where we want to have a digital experience, right? Where we don't want to talk to a human. In fact, it would be absolutely frustrating to have to talk to a human when you don't want to. If I'm ordering something on Amazon, if I suddenly had to, like, there was a break in the process and I had to get on the phone with someone, that would be maddening. At the same time, when I want to have a human interaction and I can't have one because the system's so automated, that is equally annoying and frustrating. So there always will be that component where, where we get to choose, or we should be able to choose, who we're having the interaction with, whether it's a machine or a human. But I think there are more and more things that we will become comfortable with having an interaction with a machine, just
It's
like we are now. Even like if you think back pre-pandemic till now, pre-pandemic, I don't know if we'd be comfortable even doing podcasts like this, right? But now it's like we wouldn't think of doing it any other way. And so I think we will get more and more used to that.
We've been doing podcasts for so damn long. I don't remember when we did our first one, but yeah. Casey, what are you thinking?
I just like for the agent that is listening to that and feeling like their tail is between their legs of fear of doom and gloom. There's two things that I want to empower the agent with, and that's number one, go out and get the freaking listings, right? Because at
That's the
the
bottom
end,
line.
well, I mean, when I'm listening to these things, I mean, it's not the bottom line, but it's something just immediately like knee-jerk reaction is like, you have the listings, right? AI is catering to these listings more than they're catering to, like looking for sellers. Sellers, in my opinion, are not going to let AI sell their home exclusively with all of the negotiations, insurance, issues of relocating, someone walking through and doing the inspection and appraisal in your house. Like, I'm sorry, but I just don't see that happening because sellers across the board are selling their generational wealth, and they're most likely not going to put all their eggs in their basket with AI. So, as an agent, you need to go out and make it your mission to be heavy on your listings. And that's, I mean, think about this. My first coaching call with both of you guys, Tim and Julie, when I came over to EXP, like the biggest encouragement to me was go get the listings and go get a lot of them, right? I mean, that is like standard across the board of what we preach on. And so, this should just amplify that and encourage you guys even more to go out and get the listing. I mean,
Well,
I'm
when you have when you have the listing, Casey, and I it is the bottom line. I was giving you a compliment, but this is the truth. If you have a listings based business, a lot of the noise and the static that's out there is not going to really affect you because you can control inventory. You can actually control what you have for sale. I mean, the whole thing. But the reality of it is that in the thinking here is a vast majority of the agents are not Casey Anderson or Dan or Chris or Tim or Julie or Orlando, right? A vast majority of the agents out there, they don't have the skills, they don't have the drive. They're just going to essentially want to buy leads. I mean, Zillow wouldn't have existed in the first place if agents were willing to go out and learn how to get listings. So this screenplay, if you will, was written specifically for the agents that you just helped me give them a wake up call, focus on being
Mhm.
listing agents, but also associate with people who are already thinking what's going to be like post real estate singularity, which you also hit the nail on the head. So I really appreciate that. Julie, what are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking, I think I'm reading Chris's mind a little bit on this, that there are examples of this that we've just gotten used to. You
Like,
know, like for example, you get a notification that there's an order for something, and if you don't grab it on time, somebody else will. How about BPO orders? You know, there's the perfect example of that. Showing agents who are only paid a tiny bit of the transaction. And there are agents out there that are perfectly happy doing those tasks. So, what I was thinking is perhaps we'll see a really significant bifurcation between, we've always had like the top 5% of the agents selling, doing most of the business, but maybe it'll be more like 1 or 2%, the super agent that was in the screenplay. And then we'll have this other sort of class of agents that might not even be sales agents. Maybe there's a third lower license that all you can do is open doors and, maybe be an open house assistant. Kind of like a licensed assistant is now. But I think that some of the mediocre agents will shift to that lower end of not really being a salesperson. They're just a facilitator. I think we could see that happening. And I think, Casey's point, you really have to decide which direction you're going to go. So
in
back to you,
one of the subsequent follow-ups to this, I write again why it's not likely at the level in which I was trying to scare all of you guys to maybe conceive of, because the demographics and the sheer number of people that are getting into that are going to want to transact. And Chris's point about it being AI will be something that maybe younger people are easier or will have an easier time accepting, and they won't have grown up using a practitioner. They won't have previous transactions, and so they're not going to really care, and maybe they'll even prefer it, to Julie's point. But at the end of the day, the sheer amount of transactional volume that's going to be coming over the next 10 to 20 years is historic. So To what Casey said, I'm hoping none of you guys are discouraged by being in real estate because you shouldn't be. You're in the right place at the right time and the wind is at our backs. But we need to understand that, again, to, Heller's point, we already are in the real estate singularity and the world has already changed around us. There's not going to be a point where we're going to do a Powerhouse Talk podcast and we're going to say, boom, boom, it's here. Mark your calendar. It's not like that. It's happening all around us at all times. And it's happening. The frog getting boiled thing. We're just not even realizing it's happening to us. So I'm going to go with the direction that Casey was going. So knowing that this is going to happen, it is happening, and you don't have a choice but to participate. Where does that leave an agent? We always talk about communication and we always let's be practical and tactical. Chris, you're a real
It's
estate,
va it's value.
but what does that
If
mean?
you
What does
if
that mean?
if you aren't delivering a service or information or things that really impact your consumers, your clients, your prospects in a meaningful way, you're 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 not important. You're just not you'll become obsolete.
Number one, though, is the listing, right? And be to focus on having a listing agent. That immediately gives you a lever on the overall real estate economy.
It does, but how do you get a listing? You got to provide value. How do you take that prospect who's thinking about selling their home or who's going to be interviewing agents or is going to consider using this platform to list their home or maybe an agent to list their home? If you haven't already built a relationship with that person and a relationship based on value, professionalism, then it doesn't happen. I went to my first physical therapy appointment for I have a knee issue. And I walked in there not knowing if this was the PT person I was going to use, if I was going to like him or anything else. In a very short period of time, that person demonstrated a lot of value, a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. And where I was like confident, yeah, this is the person. I will listen to him. I will do this. I will be here. I will come back. Now, a lot of agents, when they have that initial meeting with someone, they don't instill that type of confidence. They aren't competent or confident in how they communicate. And that consumers will say, we're going to think about it, or we'll let you know, or, follow up with us. When all they're saying is, I'm not confident that you're the best person for the job, or I'm not confident you're the one I want to hire. So I think it all comes down to, skills and value.
That's so good. And so this is what I wrote down. First contact and keep contact. And so, Dan, what are you thinking as far as that goes? Would you agree that now more than ever, we as individual practitioners have to be going out there and actually making real meaningful contact with people? And then we have to assume that the consumer is going to be, backloading what we're directing them to do, asking AI and whatnot. But if we don't have the initial relationship, and AI has the initial relationship, then we're beholden to AI. Versus if we have the initial relationship, then it's going to be, in essence, a servant to us. What are you thinking?
Well, I think there's huge opportunity here for agents that either through their, you know, personal networks, social media influence, or, ability to reach out, communicate with people. Like, I see it as an opportunity you could do business in a lot more markets, right? Because if I can use AI to hire hourly agents like anywhere, if that becomes easier, well, now I can take listings further away. I can do the initial meeting on Zoom, tell the seller like, yeah, I've got this system. Someone will be over to do a pre-listing inspection so we can tell you pricing strategies, what repairs to make. I can do the same thing with buyers, like do the initial consult like this, and then have a network of showing agents through AI that can show, homes quicker than I could. So I think it's an opportunity to expand and grow if you're out there demonstrating knowledge, like Chris said, and making contact with and relationships with people. So I think it's a huge opportunity for some agents.
I like how you're thinking. Casey, you look pensive. What are you thinking?
I am pensive. I don't know what pensive means, but I think I am that. So
It looks like you look right now. Look at the screen. That's what pensive looks
You're
like.
thinking.
like
Thinking, Casey.
I like don't want to blurt out. I think part of my ADHD is like people get offended that I'm trying to cut people off when they're talking, but I'm just excited to share a response. And so when Julie was talking, I was encouraged to share for application purposes for the agents. And that's like, bottom line is this. Like I said, get the listings, but then there's roots to what you should be doing with your listing that a lot of people shy away from. And that's this. Don't be the loser agent. Wait, I might make some of you mad, so don't get mad, okay? Please don't boot me off this cool club, podcast club. But don't be the agent that only puts a lockbox or a Supra on your listing and like you are banking on the buyer's agent or this fake AI showing agent, whatever listing, lead feed that they're going to be sending out to make money to go show your listing. You should be showing your listing because let's say this. Let's say AI takes over or we get this like weird second win that Redfin does where they get these like showing agents and they like come out to the property and the agent's kind of sitting there awkwardly because they don't really know them. And it's just like you can tell wait, I don't want to also piss off my Redfin agent, so I'm sorry, but respectfully,
Casey,
So
Casey,
diplomatic, Casey.
Casey
It's
just
too
burned it
late.
all
You've already
down.
alienated
they're
half
showing
the
up to the listing. Okay. This is just my personal experience. They're showing up to my listing. It's this rush thing. You can tell that they're there because they're paid to do it, not because of the client. But meanwhile, while all of you guys are sleeping over here, you guys as in the agents that are letting, lock boxes and Supras and these Redfin showing agents show your property, the client is not happy. I've never seen a client happy with the service when I'm with them in their presence, but I'm going to make it my mission to give them a great presentation of my listing, my knowledge of the area, who I am, how I showed up and presented to sell that seller's house. And like I've had these clients that have, brought in with these Redfin agents or other agents, through scheduling tours. And they love the work that my team and I do of how we present. And then we win that client over. And then if they have a house to sell, they're calling me because they saw that I'm there to show the property. I'm giving them an entire presentation with a glossy folder with gold foiling that I spend way too much money on. But the presentation won, and then I got the client, right? So the other part of it is the open houses that stem off of your listings. And if you don't have listings, go find an agent that you respect or trust and go do open houses for them or go show their listing for you and let that listing agent pay you. Because here's the deal. The open house is just like Chris said, where people sometimes are in a groove and they don't want to be bothered on AI and they don't want to talk to humans. There are people that look forward to strolling on Saturday or Sunday with their spouse or partner or whoever to go find their house themselves and enjoy physically putting their boots on the ground and getting out. And so you're that person receiving them. AI can't do that. And more people than you think respect and appreciate that interaction than just basing it off of AI. So use this opportunity and fuel to go get the listings, but beyond the listings, go show your listings and do your open houses. And
I wrote down two things. I want to because you said like four things and I couldn't write as fast as you were talking, but I wrote down this last thing you said is really interesting. What you're talking about is what we call the real work of real estate. You're not talking about funnels. Not talking about your branding. I know you do videos, but they're mostly just for fun. You're not really expecting anything to come from them. I don't think you are.
no,
Basically,
I do have stuff that comes from him.
really with that kind of dancing you're doing? Wow.
Absolutely. Boyfriend, don't come at me. Come at me, boyfriend. Come
But
on.
but but you're talking about the real work of real estate. You're talking about going out there and meeting with people. You're talking about going out there and having sales skills and having presentations. You're talking about going out there and actually Julie and I say, if you're not putting yourself in a position to hear the word no from a buyer or seller at least 5 times a day, you did not work that particular day. Your number that you're just doing without even thinking about is way more than five. That's just how you are. Your brain isn't wired to go and say, well, I'm just going to be a keyboard junk and buy leads and I'm not going to work on all these other little things. You're working in your business, but it is kind of interesting too. The other thing I was wondering while you were talking, I was wondering how many brokerages, how many teams, how many individual agents are having conversations like this? Because what everyone's trying to do is they're trying to think that AI is going to be just like what the past, apps have been. They think that's all it is. It's just a CRM. It's just a drip campaign. It's just another widget that I have to learn and I have to, pay a monthly fee for. It's not that at all. And that's what we're hoping all of you guys understand. And if you're in an environment which is not preparing you for the future in which you are actually in, not going to be, but in, you need to seriously think about doing a brokerage upgrade. And we would be honored if you'd consider partnering with all of us at eXp Realty. The links to learn more about our eXp Realty group are down below. And you can just obviously click on one of the links, learn more about why you'd want to be sponsored by Casey, or why you want to be sponsored by Chris or Dan or Julie and I or Orlando or any of the literally thousands of others at our group. But what we're going to do, and this might be actually set up by the time you watch this podcast, is that we're going to make it so that you can schedule a 15-minute discovery call with, say, for example, Dan, and then ask, Dan more specific questions about EXP. We are doing our best to create a cohesive environment where all of you guys can find essentially the direction that you need in this industry. And this gives you a competitive advantage because the rest of the industry is asleep. The rest of the industry is trying to say, this is just like last time, or this is going to happen just the way it happened before. You have to assume that all of that is bunk. It's all going to be different. It's all going to essentially, it's going to take 99% of the real estate industry completely by surprise, win over the next, and this is not next year, 24 months from now, it's now. And slowly people are going to start, well, why isn't my phone ringing as much? Why am I not getting any leads? Why is all of a sudden I closed 20 houses last year and this year I'm only closing 5? That's how changes like this happen. And so if you're not around people that are going to pull you up and frankly are constantly looking for ways to improve not just their own businesses, but the folks that they partnered with. If you're not within a people environment like that, you might want to consider being with us. Chris, what are you thinking?
I get questions all the time, and I know you guys do too. What it tells me is that most of the agents, a lot of the agents probably watching this and listening to this and just listen to what you said, don't have a trusted person, a coach, a mentor that they can go to. And I think that's all Tim is saying. Like those are things that we can help you not make the mistakes that we made. We can help you, avoid the landmines. We can help you get to where you want to go. Uh, it's what I wish I had when I started. And maybe if I had started when the internet was around and there was ways to connect with people this way, I would have had that. But I didn't. But everyone else can get that.
Yeah,
And I
Casey, what year were you born?
broski. Actually, I want you to guess.
1997.
No.
Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
yay, I'm so flattered. Botox are working. No,
95.
1993. But also, listen,
So you were around when the internet started, consumer internet started 1996 or 97. So I was
I
just,
yeah, but I still lived in the times where we had the Game Boys that had the low screen LED lights. So we had to plug in a light that, were hung and we could play it. I had the best childhood in the whole world. I wish and pray that my kids will experience the same childhood, hence why I'm buying the stuff that I had when I was growing up. So
so
they're not going to all this.
my real estate license and Casey are the same age. I got my license in 1983.
Oh, we should get BFF bracelets. Um,
We should.
okay, so so here's the thing. The other application and just piggybacking off of what you're saying, Tim, of like who's in your network is like very influential and can help you, can make you or break you, really. And I'm living proof of that with where I came from. And so the one thing that I feel a little nugget that I wouldn't typically share unless you were like in our posse. Are we still saying posse? Is that allowed? Is that politically incorrect? Okay.
No,
what?
that's fine.
To me, it means like friendship gang. I don't know. But if you're in my posse, okay, usually
Oh, she said posse. We have to delete that. Edit, edit,
You're,
oh
edit.
my
you're
gosh.
gonna get canceled, Casey.
Wait, are you being serious? I just said, can I say posse?
No, I'm messing with you.
We're just-
But
you
so
can
if you're in
you
our
can say it.
posse and if you have a friendship best friend bracelet like me and Chris, this is a little sneaky trick that I share with my team and anyone that's in my downline. And that's when I'm presenting my listings. Okay. I know those that are listening to the podcast, you can't see this, but if you reach out and schedule a call with us and you join our team, I'll personally give you this template for free. But if you look at this template on here, you see my little QR code, right? Am I blurry?
No,
Okay.
you're good.
I show my listing. I keep this in my folder. There's a front and back about me, why I'm different, a real review from a client with the address and the name. And on the other side of this listing, I'm not only showcasing what's going on with the home, I'm also showcasing all the things that I do up top, and I don't give the price and I don't give the address. I just show the pictures and the highlights of the property. And in order for you to get the address and the price, you have to scan my QR code, which goes to my luxury presence website. And essentially, when they hit accept cookies and fill it out, I get all their information directly integrated into my CRM. And it shows obviously which QR they're clicking and scanning and which flyer it was. And so I think it's important for you guys to remember that you don't have to reveal all the information and to make sure that you're giving some type of a hook, even if you're just doing a simple showing at your own listing and you're presenting to these people that might be backed by somebody that they booked through AI or whatever. So that way they have your information and they have, more concrete proof of who you are and what you do and what you offer. And
Dan,
go ahead.
that's awesome. Dan, you guys are usually running 40 to 60 agents on your team. And so as we go through all this, and you wrote an excellent article for the newsletter about how Zillow is coming for your team, basically, which I thought was really nice and very well written. But in any event, if you guys aren't subscribing to the newsletter, remember powerhousetalk.com or click the link below. But Dan, if we're going through all of this, what are you thinking? Because you definitely have a great perspective.
Yeah, well, I think, team leaders need to really guard what lead sources they're using. So like in that article, we talk about how the margins for Zillow are shrinking, right? Because they're potentially losing all of their ancillary services, title and mortgage, right? That's come under attack from lawsuits, even some regulatory complaints, and they're going to have to make up that somewhere else, right? And so right now, when a Zillow Flex lead closes, well, money goes to Zillow, money goes to the brokerage, money goes to the team leader, and then the agent gets paid. Easiest person to cut out in that whole chain would be the team leader. And I'm at this event in Cabo, which has been amazing. And one of the speakers actually mentioned there's already been cases of Zillow going after team members on teams, like going direct to them, essentially stealing teams from team leaders, right? So we've talked about it a lot before.
But the reason I brought that up, Dan, is because that's exactly what AI is going to effectively do. Because AI is going to essentially start disintermediating, removing any sort of middle person in the relate and form the relationship. And so just so we can kind of round this back, loop this, if you're not first in contact with that client, if you're not Casey Anderson and you're not, going out there and actually putting yourself in front of a prospective seller, and that seller is then bonding with you, if you're not forming relationships like that, using skills, using presentations, getting off your butts, you're toast. I just don't even see there's any middle ground. I truthfully, my dystopian story there, um, I'm glad Chris concurred, and I'm glad he was frankly bold enough to offer his real opinion, because people at Chris's position in the industry usually don't. They're wanting to, placate their agents, but he didn't. And I respect that. And Jules and I don't do it either. The truth is Julie's bifurcation, thesis is true. There are going to be effectively two different groups of agents that have essentially are controlling the relationship, and the relationship is then managed by AI, or agents that are being controlled by AI and they're just not even part of the relationship. They're just part of the transaction. I can't really see any middle ground of how this is all going to sort out. Julie, what are you thinking?
Well, I was thinking about the fact that the guys that do the Moonshots podcast,
Yeah.
they said the way to think about AI is two ways. One is to consider what happened when the big meteors hit and it was the dinosaurs that became extinct because they were slow moving big behemoths and it was hard for them to change. But the ones that survived were the little, mammals that could run and be agile. And they said that's kind of the mindset that they're having. Second thing they said to think about it, that they believe it's going to have 10 times the impact as the Industrial Revolution in a tenth of the time that took. And so they said, think of this in terms of at most a decade versus the Industrial Revolution, which went on for about 100 years, and that you better be ready to move with it. That's what I was thinking. And I was also thinking, partially when Casey was talking about all of the different, for you, Casey, it's become natural value add things because you take care of your clients and your prospects. But you're going to be that problem solver on many levels. And I wrote down HI, human intelligence, not just AI. AI is going to do certain things. You got to have better HI for people because the things that you described, that's a boots on the ground thing.
Mhm.
And people want to, how many times have all of us collectively, hundreds, maybe thousands of times, we've been on the call where somebody was just needing to hold you accountable or asking for your advice who they should hold accountable to some situation that happened in their transaction. AI doesn't have that perspective. So I think it's going to come down to a human intelligence that has a backbone of AI assisting. But I
Well,
really do think it'll be, mini agents and then super agents. Go ahead.
you're describing basic intuition, right? So AI can,
Well, maybe that's what it is. It's
right.
intuition. Maybe there's a level of real estate intuition.
And Casey, you don't know that so you're becoming a really good practitioner, but the next, if you think of the four stages of mastery, the four stages of learning, unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, what's
Which
the
is
next one?
competence
And then
and unconscious competence.
okay,
They
we
all
won't.
sound the same, but
There's
yeah.
a quiz. Say them back, Casey. No, I'm just kidding. So what you are is you're operating in the third level and a little
Yes.
bit in the fourth level, and I can tell that when you're talking, you now know what to say almost automatically to a buyer or a seller, and you don't have to think about it. That's where you're operating
Intuitively, yes.
intuitively, right? So AI won't be able to do that, but and so that you have to be in the business long enough to have not just developed the skills, but have had the experiences to make it so that you can operate intuitively. And that's going to take, frankly, doing exactly what you just did. You're going to have to focus on being a listing agent. And if you can't get the experience, you're really going to have to be absorbing as much as you can from podcasts and from people that already have the experience. Otherwise, you're just going to basically become part of you're going to, you won't have a useful, the market won't be willing to pay for your services. That's ultimately where I think a lot of agents are going to be suffering, but they don't have to. So, like, for example, Julie and I were thinking, well, what's the big takeaway with all this? The big takeaway is that you're more relevant than ever, simply for the fact that people are going to be inundated with more sources of information than ever. They're going to need people that are going to be humans that are going to be able to interpret all of this. So, we all agree that the most important thing you can be doing right now is forming meaningful relationships with folks that are not, I mean, like real relationships, real get to know more people, get off your butts, get out of your house, go to the gym, do things that are you being you around other people that enjoy the same hobbies and things like that, because that's where AI is not going to be able to compete with you. And then I'll tell you what else that Julie and I are suggesting to our elite coaching clients. Um, is you need to really think about forming like a newsletter. We talk about our newsletter, powerhousetalk.com. You need to form your own list, but maybe start out with a podcast. So, for example, I know I'm fire hosing you guys, but just open your minds, okay? So if you're in a community of 3,000 homes or whatever, there's lots and lots of sources of information. Call it like New Albany, Ohio, New Albany Realty, or I'm sorry, New Albany, Ohio Insider or something like that. And start a podcast. Start having on the podcast people that are moving and grooving in the community, local people that are running local charities. What's going on at the PTA? What's going on? All these things, and have it be something where people can listen to and feel like hopefully all of you guys feel when you listen to Powerhouse Talk that you're part of the conversation, that you're sitting there with us. Start a podcast out, listen to podcasts that you like, copy the style, use AI to help you come up with ideas. I know you just open your mind to what I'm saying. And then try to funnel those folks to a newsletter. Inside the newsletter is going to be proprietary information about market trends. Yes, they can get it different places, but if you're compiling it in one newsletter that they're only able to get as subscribers, that's a great way to start forming meaningful relationships, and you will be first contact. And versus waiting around for AI to send you a text and then you have to jump on that lead before somebody else does. Chris, what are you thinking?
Um, First of all, I have to jump, but before I do, I'll tell you what I'm thinking, and you touched on it, Tim. There's no shortage of information out there, right? If I have a legal issue, AI can provide me with endless amounts of information and where I stand and what consequences, everything. I'm still going to call my attorney that I trust, that I know, that I value for his insights and his experience. We want to make sure we're that person. And we're only that person if we truly can provide all those things. So, bottom line, we have to up our games. We got to become more knowledgeable, we have to become more skilled, and we have to build deeper relationships with the people that we connect with.
I know you got to get on another Zoom, so
Well
thanks.
put.
You guys hold on. I got an EXP question, and Chris, you can bail if you need to. I know you have to get to a
Thank you.
thing. So
I bet.
Dan, you're at an event right now happening in Cabo, okay? And so, by the way, we're going to be having a conversation that is going to be about EXP Realty. And if for any reason that's not something you want to listen to, this would be a good time for you guys to bid adieu to us for this week's Powerhouse Talk. Otherwise, stay tuned. So, Dan, you're at an EXP event in Cabo. You and I have been texting back and forth about what you're learning. You mind sharing a little bit?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of the things I think would be super relevant was a really great AI framework. It could be, it was designed for recruiting, but it could also be used for listings. So now, like with AI, right? Imagine you have a listing appointment, you know some basic information about the seller, put that, you can put that into a prompt to design a marketing plan. Then that prompt you can now use to create a podcast through Notebook LLM. And you can use HeyGen to make a video, right, using your avatar. Well, now there's another website. Then you go to Cato. Now you basically are able to make a custom website that has the seller's name, property address, photos, marketing plan that they can see visually, that they can click on, a video that they can watch, and a podcast they can listen to. And so, you're able in like 5 to 10 minutes develop a, listing marketing plan that is highly customized to them, has three different ways for them to consume it. And previously that would have taken you hours to do, right? So those hours now are reduced to like 5 minutes. You could even take like a framework, like you guys have built with ethical real estate professional,
Professional.
right? And like layer that in on top of it, but have it like adapt those ERP principles like specifically for that house. And the guy talking again, he was using it for recruiting an agent, like building out their business plan. But you could do the same thing for every listing appointment you go on, and essentially you would win the listing before you get there in a lot of cases, I think.
Jules and I had the idea that for the people in our EXP Realty group, we should help them create LLMs that are going to essentially be gatekeeping all the community information that wouldn't be easily available that's usually exchanged through private Facebook groups and whatnot. And every community, Casey, you've got kids and you've got things you're involved in. There's probably little private Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups. Julie certainly has a lot of these that she attends so what if you were to start basically pulling all that information and you start putting it behind a AI that essentially is only going to be available once they subscribe to your newsletter. 24/7 access. And remember, it's not just a search bot. It's not like using Zendesk or something like that, but it's an actual interactive thing that's going to iterate on its own. So you're going to load it up with all the questions, what it's like to move, what it's like, all the normal real estate things, but all the nuanced differences. And then people, through their questions to the AI can then go out and research. You get what I'm saying? It'll kind of grow on its own. Do you guys think that would be a cool thing to offer to people in our EXP Realty group?
Yeah. I mean, I think I think it could only benefit and give you more access to real answers and information from locals in that specific community. So I think it would benefit. I
That's
think
what
it'd
I'm
be
thinking too. And it would give you a USP too, because if someone, again, if you're trying to funnel them to a newsletter, and they're going to want to have access to, Casey Anderson's approved list of, three roofers or whatever the heck it is, or, all these things that people have traditionally gone to these referral sites for, you know, what's all the not Craigslist, but what's the name of those? You guys are
Angie's List.
Angie's List and all that. Well, if you make your own and it's working through AI, I think that could be actually, it's an idea I'm working on. Dan, you look pensive like Casey did a second ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's been examples, like I've had people on my podcast before where their whole business was based off of a Facebook group they
Right.
created. Like people are getting like 30, 40 deals a year from a community Facebook group. And now with an LLM system, like you could build out something that would be a lot more informative than like most Facebook groups.
Exactly. And then when people move to our community, essentially they go to a website called Dorado Damas, and you have to be a lady and you have to ask permission and you have to be approved by three members to get into it. Well, I mean, there's a lot of powerful information you're not going to find everyone else. And all the, people gatekeep information in any community. Julie, what are you thinking? She's writing down ideas.
Yeah, boys. Yeah, more varieties of WhatsApps and things like that. But she used Dorado Damas for an example. There's like 80 posts a day there. It's the first thing that people think of to get information from. And, if you can build your newsletter that way, if you can be the trusted human that somebody goes to, that's another thing. It's one thing for, like, to use Chris's example, he's looking for somebody to do physical therapy. He could ask his AI, who are the top 5 physical therapists where I live? And you're going to get some names, you can ask for some reviews, but is that ever going to be as powerful as if he calls his best friend who also had a similar injury and said, you know what, this is the guy for you. You got to use this person. I think that's always going to be more valuable.
And the AI that's curated by the locals will become essentially the referring source, as if you were going to your friend, your center of influence, and
Yes,
asking for a
that's who
referral.
we all have to become. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
The,
concept. Exactly.
the, Wendy Forsyth, our marketing CMO, she spoke yesterday and essentially told people how to game AI results. Like she asked, like, what's the top, real estate agents in this area? And it spit out like 5. And then she said, how did you pick these? And then it actually linked to the sources, and they weren't anything that I would call
Credible.
sub yeah, they were like there were sites that anybody could go on and create like a profile. Like they're not like third party validated. And so then, she was basically teaching people like find out how AI is recommending it, then go into those platforms and
Hmm.
you know post about yourself or articles or whatever you need to do. But you can kind of gamify like what results will show up. So it's an opportunity, right? But it's also kind of like a drawback of AI. Like I would rather get recommendations that are more vetted by these like local people that have
Right.
experienced,
Well,
you
most
know?
people, I mean, long story short, most people make their decision who they're going to use, especially for a real estate practitioner. It's like 93% from a referral from a trusted friend or advisor. And the more upper end, Casey, and I know you're experiencing this, the folks will always, they're not paying attention to ads. They're not doing Google searches. They're not doing any of that. They're asking their friend, who's the best listing agent around here that I might want to consider using. Or maybe they're just going to use the agent they
Hmm.
used before. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So we use AI to essentially create those relationships going forward, then we're at the top of the funnel. Casey, you have anything you want to close out the show?
Yeah, I mean, the to piggyback off of what you literally just said. So I just got a listing for 6.795 million here in my town, and it was actually an expired listing, which there's two things to this. I didn't get the expired call or packet. However, the sellers received my mailer and my marketing campaign of why I feel like I could sell the property, rather than them missing out the first time they listed it with the other agent. And this client went to dinner with another local who goes to my church and knows my husband. And he was like, "Yeah, I think I want to put the property back on the market. It's just we're getting bombarded from all these agents calling us, and we're getting mailers, and we're getting this and that." And he was showing this friend like all the things he was getting in the mail and this. So he shows a friend. He's like, "Yeah, this person sends me a mailer and circles why there's red flags and what they would have done differently." And he goes, "Oh, wait, that's Casey Anderson." He was like, "You know, her husband is Drew, but let me show you her social media and what she does. She's like so great." He's like, "Don't interview other." He's like, "Of course you can interview other agents, but don't like pick anybody. You should interview with her before you."
You again, Casey, you're so good at this. Do you realize what you just said? And Julie picked it up. So
Yeah.
what you just said was that relationship came from a referral, and then they were valid, and then so that had you not had that mouth to mouth, person to person access to that business, the social media would have made no difference.
Right.
The referral, and then they used the social media basically to validate you as someone they
To
should listen
check your
to.
story, basically.
The
Yeah.
Exactly.
beauty is like my husband, he doesn't have social media. He just knows, like, which is funny because he knows that my husband is my husband only because he followed me on social media separately and saw Drew in my pictures and my videos, even though Drew doesn't have social media, right? So he goes, "Oh, that's Drew Anderson. That's so this is Casey, this is his wife." So he follows me, right? Well, all that to say, long story short, I already sent it's just your case in point. I sent the expired packet. I sent, marketing material myself. I did call, they didn't answer. I almost didn't follow up my standard, my standard practice of how I follow up with expireds. But because my social media presence and because this guy knew who I was from social and knew my husband, I got the listing. And so now, granted, I did have to interview with them for 3 hours, but um, it was
Well,
a
which means you still had to have the skill to land the plane.
right. But it's like, again, what you're saying, like you have to have the relationships, the networking, all of those things all funnel together. So obviously, when you're in
But
our network,
you wouldn't have gotten that without the person to person. That's what matters most. And by the way, you probably still would have gotten that even if your social media stuff was light.
probably.
Yeah,
Mhm.
of course. Are you telling me, Casey, you're not confident that you would have gotten that listing given your skills? And exactly. Come on, lady. What are we talking about?
I'm just
Oh,
saying.
yeah. So
Correct.
listen, guys, this was this week's Powerhouse Talk, and we want feedback. What did you think of this conversation? It was designed to wake you up because we don't want any of you to be asleep during the real estate singularity. There's going to be more opportunity, people are saying more millionaires and billionaires form because of AI. How long that window stays open, I don't know. I mean, maybe for a long period of time, maybe 24 or 36 months. But the point is you've got to be aligning with people that are going to pull you up the ladder and keep you ascending so that you frankly don't stay put. There's no word. Complacency is a bit of a fake word because you're always going to be changing as you're improving or changing as you're degrading. There's no such thing as complacency. But if you don't feel like your life is getting meaningfully better on the business and personal side, especially on the real estate business side, it's definitely time for you to have a brokerage upgrade. And we would be honored if you'd consider our group as being where you will discover your new family as you go forward in real estate. So all of our links are down below. Let us know what we can do to help you. In the meantime, guys, you have a fantastic week. Thank you for attending, guys, and safe travels back from Hawaii, Mr. Lesniak.
Cabo. But
Cabo. Yeah. Oh shit, Mexico. Sorry. You guys have a great week. See you,
Yes.
Casey.
Bye.
See you
Bye.
guys.